I will never buy a property that's cash flow negative. And you're going to see it why. I remember someone on YouTube was like, but guys, I don't understand. What do you mean when you say cash flow negative? So we're about to get into that. So if it's cash flow negative, as you guys did mention, what effect does that have on my affordability, especially when it comes to scaling?
To move forward into bigger things.
You can't use it to move forward to bigger things. So if your affordability was 800,000, you bought a property worth 800,000, what you're saying is that it's going to be difficult now to scale because it's under personal capacity. We are against buying cash flow negative. And to emphasize, when I'm looking at property investing, I'm looking at us buying affordability. Because if you're not buying a property that's going to afford you the next property, you are stuck. I know this for sure. If I'm going to ask, I don't want to do this task right now, but every time we host workshops, first question that I ask, how many people own properties? Majority of us are raising our hands up because we are into property investing. The next question is, how many people own more than 2 properties? People start decreasing their hands. Now, when we go to 3, no hands are up. Then you can see that there's a problem, because ultimately what we used to, or what we know, is that we're buying properties and holding them for that 20 years. I'm buying an apartment that's not making sense, I'm holding it for 20 years. Now, that's why I'm saying that from now on, the lens that we should be using when it comes to property investing is that we are buying affordability. I'm not buying it because it's got 2 rooms. I'm not buying it because it's in an estate. I'll ask you, I know so many clients that have came to us, gents, I've got 8 properties. They're in such an area. Let's discuss in fact. What's the affordability on your properties? How are you scaling using your property model? What's happening out there is that your personal capacity is what's strong. You earning this 80K is what's strong. It's not your property portfolio. So hence people even get it switched up that, yes, I've got 8 properties, which is good. But now we need to understand now the business model. The reason why I'm saying the business model is that if I pass away, my 80K is now gone. The kids now, how are they going to grow the portfolio? I was saying that I was doing it because of generational wealth, but now because I didn't understand the basics in terms of how does forms of ownership affect my scalability, it will be hard to grow. So what I'm saying there is that we need to understand that when we're buying properties, we are buying affordability. It's more of the how, because again, guys, look at it this way. If you are to open a trust, Sispi, if I'm opening a trust, how much is it?
It ranges between 6.5. I mean, I've seen some charging 15,000.
15,000. I like worst case scenario. 15,000 sounds good. You opened a trust for 15,000. Yes, your asset is protected, but it's cash flow negative of about 3,000. Now, when we're sitting, some people will even tell you that, yes, it's cash flow negative, but I've got equity. But now, because we didn't have that knowledge, what am I protecting? If I'm to sit down with you and say, you're getting, let's say it's a negative of 1,500. What are you protecting? Are we protecting Skolo? So ultimately what we're saying is that even with the forms of ownership, again, the most tricky part is understanding the how. You see, once you get to understand the how, now you understand that I'm growing my affordability, and that's what I am protecting, guys. Sure.
Now, Neo spoke something based on equity. And now I really want you guys to understand the power of equity. There's a reason why you hear people saying below market value when it comes to property. Have you guys heard about below market value? Okay. Do you understand why are we buying properties below market value? Do you understand why we're buying properties below market value?
Yes.
Okay, can I just get one hand? Yes, sir.
To maximize the profit.
To maximize the profit, right? So the biggest or the largest expense that you have as a property investor is your bond repayments, right? Now, the lower your bond can go, the more profit you're going to be getting. So if, say for instance, myself and Neo have 2 houses. Neo bought next door me, and now Neo bought his property at 800,000. I'm buying my property at 1.2 million. It's obvious that I'm going to be paying more in terms of the bond, right? So that's the first reason. Now the second reason, let's firstly understand what equity is. So we bought a property that's worth, no, we bought it at 800,000, right? The property is worth 1.2 million. This is where the game changer is. We bought the property for 800,000. The property is worth 1.2 million. Now, the difference between these two is what we call equity. Now, if I'm saying 1.2 million minus 800,000, what is it? 400,000. 400,000. Now, if I'm saying that the equity that I have on this property is 400,000, this basically means that I can go to the bank and do something that's called a refinance or a second bond. Now, once I've refinanced this 400,000, I can then use the same 400,000 to purchase the next property. Now, disclaimer, 400,000 is very tempting in your bank account. We do not use a cent of this 400 towards ourselves. This 400 goes back into our property business. Why are we saying this? If I use this 400,000, my bond, say for instance, if it was at 800,000, bond at 800,000, let's say it's 8,005. My bond repayment is 8,005. Now I refinanced, I got this 400,000. Somebody told me that there was a party in Bali or something like that. I went with it, got 400,000, right? Now my bond went now to 1.2 million. 1.2 million, I'm now paying around 13,000 on a monthly basis. Now there's a difference between these two. The important part is to do what? Take this 400,000, put it into another property that will cash flow more. That's how you're able to scale your business.